Hi, guys, and welcome back to Bar Exam. I'm your host, Allie Rayner, and I'm here with my co hosts. We have Eric G in the building. What's up, Eric?
What's good, y'all? What's the deal?
And then we also have Mr. Marcus here with us as well. What's up, Marcus?
What up? What up? What up? What up?
Well, today we are discussing how Gucci Mane decided to drop all of his artists from 1017. Okay, he drops everybody. And we will be, coming before the bar, we will be discussing some of his artists from the past that, we had good memories with them, right? We're gonna pick some of our favorite songs from them and break them down just for a little bit. But first, yeah, let's talk about how Gucci decided he just wanted to drop everybody. Apparently, he was looking at his profits and losses for 1017, and apparently he did not like what he saw. So he jumped on Instagram on 1018. He missed 1017 by a day. And he decided to tell everybody how he just was not happy with the state of the music industry and how he had to drop all of his artists. But it was a little bit confusing because he says that he is doing the unselfish thing by dropping them, but and letting them take their talent somewhere else, but that he is still looking for new artists. He's gonna keep Pooh Shiesty and Fogiano, two artists that are currently, I think both of them are incarcerated, but everybody else is getting cut. So I gotta know from the fellas, what do you think is going on? Like, do you think that it's like why do you think that he's keeping people who are actually incarcerated as opposed to people who are free? I'm like confused by that the most.
It's not that hard to figure out. Pooh Shiesty and Fujiano made Gucci the most money, and none of those other artists, they unfortunately didn't come close to it. Now, I do want to bring up Big Scar because I think that he was somebody that was about to hit that ceiling, but unfortunately, he passed away. So he never really got the chance to kind of live that out. But as far as the other people on here, there's only three other names as far as the names out of the people that he had signed to him that I even recognize. All these other people that he signed, I didn't even know he had this many artists. First of all, so the fact that he even had this many artists and that like we didn't even know, that's kind of a sign that things are already not going right. The other thing about this is that I'm not that surprised by Gucci doing this because Gucci has had a couple of iterations of 1017 before, but it was just called other things. Like he had So Icy Boys, the So Icy ENT label. He had another version of 1017 that was called 1017, but it just had a different name. And that's when he had Thug, Migos, Pee Wee Longway, like he had all these like people that are now like bigger names after they left, but at the same time, like that was still a different iteration of what he's was trying to do right now. So I'm not really that surprised by it, but I'm also not that surprised because the music industry is going through like a really really weird shift. Like all the CEOs are kind of playing little weird games. Like a lot of the labels are kind of shutting down right now. Like I'm not really that surprised by him doing it because it feels like everybody is kind of trying to make a move and figure out what the next major thing is. Like artists are kind of trying to figure out how to get away from the DSPs thing. So there's a bigger play going on. But I think with Gucci specifically, I think that he looked at the artists that he had with him and he really looked at the guys who were actually bringing in revenue. And to me, like the only two people that are even notable to even bring up are Pooh Shiesty and Fujiano. Even with them being locked up, they're locked up and they're still making the money. So you know what I mean? Like that should tell you all you need to know, really.
Right. I mean, I will say that I think Pooh Shiesty went like number one before, I think either before or during while he was incarcerated. So I mean that makes sense. I didn't realize that Fogiano was that successful. But
What?
you know, I guess,
Yeah, he's
huh?
going crazy. He was the next one out of that camp, really.
You
Wow.
ain't never heard nobody say, "Bitch, I'm the mayor." What?
No.
Oh man, Hey, I'm a Fujiano fan. I'm more of a so I'm an equal fan.
Yeah, I like him. He's dope.
I like Fujiano and I like Pooh Shiesty. Pooh Shiesty, first of all, Pooh Shiesty has the greatest marketing post incarceration because of COVID that will never be created. That's a trapped in the closet marketing move. The fact that the entire mask is called a Pooh Shiesty mask or a Shiesty mask, and that's not the mask name, and that in itself right there is Can't Ban the is as big as Jeezy Wood Can't Ban the Snowman. Just the fact that Pooh Shiesty has the mask.
I don't even
Oh,
know if he ever even called it a shiesty mask either. Like that's the best thing about it. I don't even know if he himself ever called it that. It
well,
just became that over time.
it became that over time, which has made him iconic. So on not iconic is not it's a stretch, but it you know what I'm saying. It's put him on the map, legitimized for years and years to come. More so that we looking for him to come home. And if you remember, because you know I'm president of the fan club of Glorilla. So when all of her friends, it was Glorilla, K Carbon, Aliza, you know, all of her clique or whatever.
Hmm.
K Carbon actually signed the Pooh Shiesty's label. So Glorilla went to CMG, Gloss Up went to Quality Control. Another, they all went somewhere, right? She signed the Pooh Shiesty. So if Gucci still kept Pooh Shiesty, that essentially Gucci still has her too. So it's through Shiesty's label, but I mean it's still he has a way to capitalize on what's up and coming. So I didn't see it as a shock or a surprise, to be honest, because it was more so to be expected. Who and and let's be honest, because he had that little they all of Gucci's artists, who don't have music popping. You only hear about them when tragedy strikes.
Right.
Oh, they died and they didn't pay for the funeral. This happened and he didn't bail them out. Like it's always a tragedy with his or Gucci's artist gets shot or Gucci's artist gets in a fight. It's always a tragedy with his artist. It's never about the music.
Right.
Yup.
That's the only
I
time
agree.
you hear somebody sign the 1017.
Yeah. It honestly feels like a curse for real because I'm like, I don't. It just seems like something is always going wrong, just like you said, Marcus. Like somebody's either passes away, and that's another thing. I think Enchanting, she was a female rapper. She recently passed away
He
too, and
OD,
it just
didn't he?
yeah, and she had an overdose, and so she also adds to that as well. So it's like I can understand him wanting to start off clean and do a fresh slate, but I don't know what it is. I feel like is he not giving them enough of an opportunity, like, or is he not really helping them that much because it keeps happening over and over again. It doesn't seem like anything good has been coming from those camps.
So it's hard to say because this is how I look at it. I'm kind of I look at all of the other eras where Gucci had artists signed to him. So out of the first crop, which was that like early Brick Squad wave, which is your OJ the Juice Mans, your Waka Flockas, your Woo the Kids, Frenchies, like all those people. Like, oh, he had a decent amount around him, but nobody really popped off like Flocka did. OJ the Juice Man, he had a nice little street cult following that kind of helped carry him into the 2010s. But aside from Flocka, like nobody else really popped off like that. So, but the thing about it is that Flocka popped off so crazy that you got to look at that as a major W. So then we go into the next iteration, and that's when you get your Migos, your Thugs, your Pee Wee Longways, your who else was around during that time? Skipper the Flipper, your Jose Guapos, like that's when like those people start coming around a little bit. And to me, the biggest success stories out of those is really Thug and the Migos. Now, I would, me personally, I would put producers in there too, but that's a different conversation for a different day. You could put that, but you could put that little crop of Atlanta producers that came up around that time too. Sonny Digitals, Metro Boomins, 808 Mafias, Lex Lugers, like those people, you could really mention them amongst that crop. And then even in the past one, you could mention Zaytoven, and you could like, it's kind of the same thing. But those are some major success stories to come at a time when everyone around them was also super competitive and kind of wanted the same thing. Out of this, like I said, out of this group, I really only see it with Pooh Shiesty and Fujiano. I don't know if it's not working with the other guys because they're not trying or because the music, it just isn't resonating, but something isn't clicking this time around. Whereas back then it seemed like it was kind of clicking with, I don't want to say more people, but it was getting to a bigger level to where it is right now. Pooh Shiesty to me is probably the biggest example of somebody who has gotten to that level of popularity when Flacco really started hitting the streets and really started like making shit run on his own. Same thing with Migos, same thing with Thug. Like the only thing that really is holding Pooh Shiesty back is the fact that he's locked up. Imagine if he wasn't.
Right.
I think everybody's waiting for Shiesty to come home too. That's one. But what you just said, Eric, kind of hit me a little bit different. I also think that Gucci's producer track record is impeccable. Of that undiscovered, hey, you want to come work, you can come do it. You know, just with the names you list. His artist selection, he's trying to recreate what he's done with the producers. And you know, we've seen this how many times and how many times again, where you have artists who live two lives. You know, it's a street life and then it's a music life, and you feel like you can do both. You can, you know, some can, some can't. We see that with Shiesty. You know, I don't necessarily know that Gucci's artist development is the best. Like, I mean, you say, he's not telling you what you can and can't do. You know, it's not that kind of structure because that's not the type of music. So, I mean, who do you fault in this? Do you fault the artist or the person? You know, because we said the same thing about what was that white dude? They did an interview on the Breakfast Club, and they were talking about the 360 deals and how, you know, you give all of these monies and these deals to talented to talent, but you don't give them any direction, and they get caught up in street situations. It was like a real famous A&R dude. He had been around, white guy, old white guy too.
Sounds like Leor Cohen or somebody like that.
I think that's what it was. Yeah. When he was like, and I choose my family to feed these guys, and you know, I'm choosing it.
Yeah, it was Leor. Yeah,
he
talks exactly like that. Yeah,
you know, when he said that, you know, so Gucci's in a sense doing the exact same thing, and we faulted him for doing it, you know, because he was like, oh, well, you giving somebody $100,000 or $350,000 a year, and they doing all of this driving these slave deals, but then, you know, they earn the money on the road. We faulted Cohen for doing all of this, but we don't say anything about Gucci too. So I mean, the artist development, I think, is just lacking as an industry standard. So I don't fault Gucci, like he should do more. I don't think no one else around him is doing more. He's doing what every other A&R or ball, would do in the same similar situation. So he's not one to be picked on or picked out like he could be doing better. I think the whole bar should be just raised, and the standard should be higher for artist development, because so many artists are getting lost in the sauce.
Mm-hmm. Marcus, I got a question for you though. Do you think that there's a difference between a Leor Cohen and a Gucci Mane in the sense of we know Gucci's rap sheet. You know what I'm saying? Like he for sure caught a body. Like we know that. He went to prison a couple times. We know that. So it's like he's actually from the environments that it seems like he's picking these artists from in a sense of like, I can pull you out of it. I've been there. I pulled you out. Whereas Lyor Cohen also not providing that artist development, like you were saying, but he's not from these areas and he's not used to dealing with these type of people on the same level of Gucci is. So is there a difference in what they're doing where one could be seen as a little bit more predatory? I'm just going to pick the most violent dudes and whatever happens to him happens versus the other guy who's like, I'm from where you're from. I'm trying to save you. And it happens to just keep not working out because these niggas are really from the streets.
So I would say it's less predatory and more of an example just because of I'm gonna gauge the man's intent. I don't think Gucci would be predatory in this stage of his life career where he's at, where with holistically everything that we've seen from him. I think it definitely is a similarities. Hey, I was in the streets, I've been this, and you can come out better on the other side. I really believe like Gucci wants to show, hey, you got this illegal money, get this legal money. I believe that, but at the same time, streets is undefeated, and we've seen that over and over and over again. So I mean, he's been right twice with. I mean, actually, you can't even call him right because shit, Fu and Shiesty is fucking locked up. So. And they your biggest money maker. Like, so yeah, I can now. What are the guardrails with them? Hey, you didn't sit down for this. When they come back, what's the push behind them? How do we, how do we capitalize on your past? Market your future to where we don't have this, but you can't sit down another 4 years. Right. Neither one of y'all can. Like neither one of y'all can afford to do a stint. So, it's because the music is still relevant today. It still gets played in the playlist today. So, and that none of his other artists had that kind of, even if they had the same opportunities, they never produced the same type of success. So Gucci, I don't look at him as a predator like Cohen at all. I don't see that.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. But did you guys think it was like, did it make sense to you when he said that he was going to release them because he didn't want to be selfish, like he was going to let them take their talent somewhere else? I feel like that's just a backwards way of saying that like they weren't making him no money, so he decided to just release them. I don't think it's really doing them a favor though.
It depends on what kind of deals they signed.
Okay.
That's really what that boils down to. Depends on what kind of deals they signed. If they were signed in straight 360s and they get some of their money back out of that after the deal is done, maybe it's not so bad, but who knows?
So I think it's when he says free and clear, we know he took losses with signing them. So whatever those losses were, if it was 100 grand, 50 grand, whatever that loss was, you still owe me that money. If I put it in studio time, if I still put it in what you were supposed to give me 2 albums, you were supposed to give me a #1 hit, whatever the deliverables were from that, you still owe me that money. So if you want to still continue to work and still continue to, you can't get a feature for 100K because you owe me 75 right now. I'm not gonna go 175. So when he said he's releasing them, I think he released them of all kind of obligations and debt.
Right.
To go, if you still want to do music, cool, do music, but wish you the best success. You don't owe me nothing on the back end. I'm letting you go. I'm releasing you. So it's more of a it's the well, wow, I'm gonna quote this. It's the gift that Diddy never gave, right? Like Diddy never did that. Like, nah, I'm gonna own this shit forever. So we've seen it. We witnessed it. So I think him releasing them still allows them, if they wanted to work, to go work. You just got to do it on your own. So that's how I feel. That's how I think when he said it's a good thing, because I mean, shit, how many slave deals have we seen in artists?
Right.
Because you signed early to somebody and somebody got paperwork and you get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, shit, the biggest example of that of late is Meg. How many years was Meg stuck in a deal because she signed it in a Gucci stage, in her career early on. And then you get this superstar success and you still owe from this. So yeah, I think I think it really was a blessing if they wanted to work.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think of it that way. Now, okay, so our amazing producer Shane just dropped in the chat that 50 Cent had OT Genesis and released him, and then OT Genesis made Coco. So if he was still signed, maybe that song doesn't come out because he's on the shelf. So I feel like that's a good point that, like, yeah, I guess if a lot of these artists had just stayed on the shelf with Gucci, then who knows what like their potential is, you know? So we'll see. I mean, the only thing for me though is I kind of like what Eric was saying is that I will say some of these people I feel like did benefit from being aligned with Gucci because they just don't seem like they have the following just yet. I'm trying to remember who it was, but I looked up I think it was like Lil Zay. I looked up some of their numbers to see like how many monthly listeners they had, and some of them had like 14,000 monthly listeners. So it's like he probably benefited from being associated with Gucci. And maybe if there had been kind of like what Marcus was saying, more artist development, but also I think it helps a lot when you have Gucci jump on a track with you. Like I think it did a lot for Enchanting. So I'm surprised that he didn't, I don't know, maybe we just didn't hear about it enough. But if he didn't jump on any of their tracks, I feel like, that would have been a good direction to go to at least help them grow a fan base. But yeah, and then also I kind of wonder what his criteria is for when he finds these artists, because he also in July said that he wanted to start another label called So Icy Millionaires, and he was showing off $1 million cash for one new female superstar and one male superstar, so $2 million altogether. But it didn't seem like, in the video he was really talking anything about like what he's looking for, like what type of artist that he wants to bring onto the team and what type of numbers they have to be doing. So I kind of wonder, like, if you're just doing something like flashing money and hoping that anybody lit is going to come find you, I don't know if that's like necessarily a strategy. It doesn't seem like one that's going to be very business savvy, like you could just get anybody, who knows.
This is also the guy who tweeted out when he like got out of prison the last time that he had $1 million to sign Young Thug. It was like, yo, we know that you had him on your label before, but this is a different Young Thug than back in 2013 when you had him, when nobody knew who he was yet. Like, this is not that Young Thug anymore. This is like Young Thug's been out and he's like popping now. That wasn't that we knew that wasn't gonna work. But yeah, this is the same dude who tried to do that. So no, I'm not surprised by any of this. And again, I just think that the other reason that people kind of give him a little bit of a harder time is because he also has that lore of like everything that he like touched in Atlanta turned to gold, basically. Like he had that lore for such a long time, and especially when he was locked up, like everybody, it was like a thing to say that like you went through Gucci. It was like almost like a stamp of approval. I remember that. So I just think that because of that track record, people kind of look at him and look at everything that he touches to be a home run. And it's like when you really take a step back and actually take a bigger look at the grand scheme of the picture, you'll realize that there are a lot more misses than there are hits. They're just hidden under the hits because the hits are kind of monumental. So I just think that that's really it.
Yeah.
And
I feel
so this is a two-part question, because we talking about Gucci as an A&R signing his label, and more of a gatekeeper introduction to the industry. That's on one hand, right? The second hand is it's also simultaneously being done in Atlanta. So I don't like, they go hand in hand clearly, but if you're an artist and you're trying to get established, I I don't want to say Gucci is the easiest road to success. I think it's the least restrictive introduction to a mainstream audience in Atlanta. So, whereas, there are plenty of other people in Atlanta that you don't have access to So Def, to Jermaine in Atlanta. You don't have access to Big Boy. Okay, you don't have that type of access to get to where, like, oh yeah, I really want to pay attention. I want to listen to this. But Gucci is in the streets and in the people. Like almost everybody. Like if it's hot, oh yeah, he heard it at the gas station. He heard it at the barbershop. It's popping. Like that's what we gonna do. That's amazing. So like that's what you say. So I think Gucci has that allure, not so much as the hits and misses, more so look at who came through here. Cam Newton is super famous right now for the podcast. I didn't realize how many NFL players went through his 7-on-7, like as kids. The CJ Strauss, the Justin Fields, the Caleb, that went through his process of development in like Pee Wee before they, high school and 12-on-12, that went through Cam Newton's. I look at Gucci like that. Like he provided something for a whole, the under generation that nobody else was doing at that time. So if you go through Gucci, like Eric said, damn right, look at our successes. I mean, shit, go through the list. You said Migos, Thug.
There's one other person on that list that I didn't even mention, but I just look at his trajectory a little bit different because he kind of split off and did his own thing. But I kind of look at Future the same way. Future kind of came up under Gucci, and they had tapes together and shit like that.
Yeah, so,
like, what? I'm not gonna completely say that, but I won't completely say that Gucci helped out in the way that he helped, like Migos and Thug and those other guys. Like Future kind of went off and did his own thing, but there was a while there where Gucci was still the top dog, and Future was kind of coming up under him, and like especially like a lot of those producers and shit that I named, a lot of those guys wouldn't have been passed off to Future if it wasn't for Gucci.
But again, that's what we're talking about too in Atlanta. So that speaks to what I was saying before. If you got to think, if I'm an artist and I'm in Atlanta and I don't really have access to the other labels, not only do I have access to Gucci where I can't get them, look at Gucci's production staff. That in itself, I get to work with people I ain't never got to work with. And in a studio session, that's the ultimate gamble. You never know who's gonna vibe and hit and come up with greatness. So just on that strength alone. So we actually low-key during this whole segment, we might have to put Gucci higher up in the Atlanta hierarchy than previously thought.
I already hold him up at a very high regard in the Atlanta hierarchy.
I never had Gucci as top 5.
Oh, I always did.
In the Atlanta hierarchy?
Yeah.
Oh, well then that's where me and you differ, because until this conversation, I never had Gucci in top 5 of it.
Atlanta wouldn't sound like it does today if Gucci didn't do what he did. That's just period. Like all those people that we mentioned, all the like how poppin' they got, like if it wasn't for Gucci, a lot of those guys wouldn't have made it because they didn't come through Jeezy.
Yeah.
And Jeezy, and a lot of people would hold Jeezy on a high regard as Atlanta hierarchy, but me personally, I have Gucci higher.
Mm,
I will
I
say,
did until today. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I never had Gucci. I ain't gonna say well, yeah, never. I never had Gucci in top 5 of Atlanta of status of Atlanta. I mean, I had them high, but it was really because of numbers. It's so many in Atlanta. But then
Right.
when we kind of break down who's doing what and who's moving, you know, Gucci is more relevant than I previously thought.
That's fair. That's fair. Do we want to go over some of our favorite artists and their lyrics from 1017 or Brick Squad? Because for me, I didn't know a whole lot of 1017 artists, to be honest. I kind of leaned more towards like Brick Squad, and the most famous for me had to be Waka Flocka. Like we were already saying, he was one of the more notable artists, and he had a run too, especially like 2010 to like 2013, maybe 14. He had a decent run, and it was hard for me to pick which song was my favorite because there's Hard to Paint, No Hands, Round of Applause. Trying to think. I think there's one other, and then Oh Let's Do It is one of my favorites. I feel like it's one of the very first ones that I heard from him, and I felt like it really brought a lot of energy to like street music. Like he is always like yelling on the track. He's always super animated. I don't think that he's necessarily a lyricist by any means, but I do think that he helped make trap music more mainstream for sure. Like I think that people who do like the mosh pits and stuff like that kind of started with Waka Flocka shows. So definitely got to give him his props for having quite a run for a while. And then yeah, just from Oh Let's Do It, I just love the first lines, like I think that this is the hook in general, but where he just starts off and he's like, I fucked my money up. Damn, now I can't re-up. Ran off in his spot just to get my stacks up. Now I'm back on deck. So shawty, what the fuck you want? Heard he talking shit, but this ain't what the fuck he want. Lock my CEO up. Now it's back to Coca. Like he just was really like on some, I'm just gonna tell y'all what I do in these streets. I'm gonna have to make my money one way or another. And I don't even know if he was talking about, I think he was talking about Gucci being locked up. I'm not sure though. I think that
Yeah,
Gucci's
that was the dope thing to me, is like this was a club banger, but he was low key storytelling.
yeah.
Because as far as I'm aware, because recent interviews have come out that confirm this, but that was a real situation. The I fucked my money up, now I can't re-up, ran up in this spot just to get my stacks up. Like that all really happened. So he
Oh,
was
wow.
recounting an actual incident in that song. And then right after, Gucci went to jail. So he had to start doing his thing back in the streets again. So he was really storytelling his actual life on his first hit. So, but a lot of people just think it's some dope, you know what I'm saying, turned up shit.
So
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
so I think Shane, you just kind of proved our point from earlier in the pod. Like, how is this artist development if if Walker lived his real life, rapped about it, talked about his situation, and then made a #1 hit about it? I talk about my situation, and I get indicted. like I did the same.
Also, different times too.
Yeah, all the different times. Like the internet is a dangerous, scary place because Walker had probably one of Walker's run is similar. Walker's run in trap is similar to Lil Jon's run in Crunk. And the reason I say is because it's what you think is so early on that it has become timeless. And both Crunk and Trap have now went to the festivals and then went to TikTok and went to all of the things now. Like it's ASL interpreters to Waka who have made the song go viral 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times again because they at a festival doing their job to a Waka Flocka song. You know, same as Lil Jon. You know, and Hard. If I'm not mistaken, Hard in the Paint went commercial. When I say commercial, like it was on ads. Like, if it wasn't the lyrics, I know that beat was.
Oh, for sure.
I know that
it was. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That about the joint with Roscoe Dash and Wale.
What you say, Shane?
The joint with Roscoe Dash and Wale.
Yeah.
Yeah, No Hands.
Stupid mainstream. That was on Waka's album.
Yeah.
Yes. So that made them a buttload of money. I already know because you could not get away from that freaking song. It was around forever. But I mean, it was a good song. I can't lie.
That album to me, Flockavelli is a classic album to me because without that album, that's another album where we don't really have the sound of hip hop today if that album never dropped. Because that album to me was the early precipice of a lot of music that that came out in like the 2010s and even today still. It was like that early like skeleton sound of like what trap was really going to sound like for the next 10 to 15 years, but just nobody really knew it yet until certain songs like really started picking up. Like you said, No Hands obviously was a monster smash, but then even a song like Hard in the Paint going crazy. The Grove Street Party's on that album. That song isn't as mainstream successful as those other songs, but even the sound of that song, like you don't get a lot of songs that sound like that today if songs like that don't come out. That album is criminally underrated just because of how much it changed basically what rap is today.
So if I'm not mistaken, wasn't that I said Rocka. Wasn't that Waka's first project?
It was his debut album.
So if your debut
it wasn't his first tape, but it was his debut album.
So if your first debut album allows you to tour 20 years later, continually, because that's it. What do I need to get back in the lab for? If anything, this is the trap version of Lauryn Hill.
I guess so. I mean, he did end up dropping some other stuff too.
So did she, but nothing
like rested,
the education.
That's true.
Yeah, this is
true.
But I mean, and it has allowed his debut album was so successful and so known. It's allowed him to get into other things. Mm-hmm. You know, Waka's lit. I mean, he's a mini version of Diversity Portfolio. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I know that he had like reality shows. I don't know what he's into now. I feel like he's doing some type of acting. I could be wrong though.
He still tours a lot because he kind of dipped his toe into the EDM world a little bit. So once he did that, he kind of went in like he is damn near. He almost feels like he's taking the Lil Jon route, like for real, like in real life, which is actually I'm kind of all for that because if there was another person to kind of take that role over, it would be him.
That's pretty lit. I didn't know that either. Okay, yeah, I'm down for that too.
Oh shit!
Right. What?
Oh, I'm sorry. Minnesota just Minnesota. I'm watching the WNBA finals, and Minnesota just went ahead of New York with 2 seconds left in the game, and I didn't bet on this, and I should have. and I was gonna take Minnesota, but New York was winning the whole game. I was like, oh damn! And they literally just came back and won by 2.
Wow.
Now they didn't tie the series 2-2.
Oh man.
So I'm in because you can't bet in on the app in Missouri. So I'm in Colorado. This shit is lit. Sports betting is the funnest shit ever, and I didn't hit like 2 parlays. I didn't hit my other bets. Fucked up the casino last night. This shit is amazing. This birthday has been fucking amazing.
Yeah, don't say who you using though. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody sponsoring the show yet. You feel me? So we're not.
Oh yeah,
Don't say
not
who
yet.
you using.
They surely can. Hit our Ethos Media Network, like, share, and subscribe if you are interested in providing the sports book for me and our 2 other co-hosts who are foreign to sports betting. But yeah,
Very. I know I am.
hey, that can come tomorrow. Where's Dion with that? Yeah, that's what I need a sports bet hoodie.
Oh,
all right, fellas. Do you guys have any songs that you want to break down real quick?
yeah, I got one just because I had to. Since we was talking about 1017, I had to bring up my boy Pee Wee Longway, man. Because just anytime you get a chance to hear him just rap anything, it's just always good. So, for those who aren't like super familiar with Pee Wee Longway, by the way, to me he was always looked at as like the 4th Migos member, like just unofficially, like around that time when he was coming up. But he always kind of had his own little group, so like he never officially was looked at as one of the Migos members because he kind of already had his own shit going on. But he always like rapped with them on mixtapes, like before they like really blew up after Versace and everything. And I just always saw him as the 4th one because he just always fit into songs perfectly with them. But so the song I'm gonna bring up is actually on an old Gucci Mane tape. He came out with this Gas, Molly, and Lean tape series. Like it was like 3 mixtapes that he dropped at the same time. And this was like one of the very first times that I had ever heard Pee Wee Longway. And this is how he starts off the verse. So he goes, I ain't never seen a nigga like me. Where he at? Where he from? I'd like to meet him. I'm a Rolling Stone cooking with a rollie on 32 shots in my Nina. I'm a Rolling Stone, got my roly-poly on, fuck it, Kafima and Katrina. Shots of gas bags in the Beamer. Pussy bald head like leukemia. Watch it set off like a Deisha. Stuffing my cigar with the diesel. Pull it, jump off with the Keisha. See you out there, I need my money for. Puerto Rican don't need a visa. White name Mona Lisa. Frank White headshot Tito. Long way not called Ludo. Off the Molly, I don't fuck with the easy hoes. Like, I just love the way he started flowing on the song because he's coming right after A$AP Rocky, who at this time was like pretty much like killing everything that he was on. This was like coming right after Gucci had like just got locked up. So he was like everybody was looking to see like what he was going to do next. And Pee Wee just comes out of nowhere with just this amazing flow, killing everything that he's saying. And every single time I hear Pee Wee Longway, he was always the one that impressed me the most out of like that crop of people that Gucci had signed under him around that time. Like out of the Migos and Thugs and all those people, Longway to me was the one that stood out the most. And it's hearing verses like that made me be like, yeah, he's the guy that people need to look out for. I'm actually a little sad because he's actually kind of going through some legal issues and shit like that at the moment too. And I wish that he kind of would have blew up a little bit more because he never really left that down south touring bubble. Like he just always kind of stuck around there and never really like wanted to get himself past that level, and I really think he could have. But yeah, that's just a reason why I love rapping long way verses, because he just always goes crazy.
Is that his best verse?
Do I think that's his best verse? It's a top 5 to me.
Okay.
The Serve and Lean verse is definitely a top 5 verse for me.
Okay. Okay. Well, honestly, I didn't even. I'm glad that you let us know about his history with Migos. I feel like a lot of times because it's like street shit involved, like there's a whole lot of history that we just don't know. So I didn't even know that either. Like I had no clue. So that's pretty cool to know. But yeah, I wonder why it is that a lot of Gucci's artists stay, it's like all or nothing. Like they stay small or they go, they become huge after working with him. So I wonder what that is. It's like we're gonna have to do a breakdown and find out like what is the problem with that camp. But that was interesting. Thank you for sharing. Now I'm trying to think. Marcus, do you have anybody that you wanna present
No,
or
these niggas don't deserve it. No, there's nobody that is relevant on 1017 that deserves an artist breakdown than who we've already said.
I feel that.
Because it just goes without saying because of everything we already talked about.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah.
See, you see how real that shit was? Like damn, man. I feel that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Hopefully his
the
next
other
one
part
will
of
be
it
better.
too is because like the other niggas that we could break down, a lot of them out kind of outgrew that already anyway.
Now
Even if
that's
even the people like even the people that like I did mention that maybe didn't get to the big enough level that they could have. Thug, Migos, like a lot of those guys, like they got big enough to the point where they didn't need a Gucci anymore. They kind of got the artist development elsewhere after they got what they needed from him. Not saying that that's a bad thing or not saying that he got used or anything, but around that time, that was when everybody was kind of trying to figure out what the next wave of Atlanta was at around that time. So it's not such a bad thing that Gucci was the helm of that because he still ate off of that shit. It's just that other people had to grow and figure themselves out to become the bigger artists that they were. Even the producers, they couldn't have stuck around Gucci that long. And then I also don't think it would have been beneficial for Gucci to keep going with the exact same sound year in after year. Now, with somebody like Zaytoven, that was his man's from the very beginning, and him being around like that, that's a different story. But imagine if he would have kept Metro under his thumb this whole time. You know what I mean? What we could have seen a different outlook on a lot of these people if Gucci just would have kept him under his thumb the whole time. Whereas he let a lot of these people go and be their own individuals, and they were able to succeed off of that shit.
So I
Hey,
guess
but do you
Gucci
think
really
that's a
is like
business strategy?
the trap godfather. Like he really has, ushered in a lot of people, but maybe he has taught them something where it works when they finally do leave. And I think it also is like if you're under Gucci, it's big shoes to fill, and you might feel kind of like overshadowed by his success and his huge fandom. So I mean, I guess it does kind of make sense as to like why you definitely want to work with him, but maybe not stick around for too long because then people are just going to associate you as just Gucci's producer or just one of his artists rather than like your own person. So I guess that's true, but we'll see what happens with him in the future with his new artists. And also, kind of like we were saying earlier about like the state of the music industry. Like if Gucci is over here talking about his profits and losses and how it's just not adding up right now, I can only imagine how a lot of other labels are feeling as well. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what the heck is really going on with the music industry. I did hear something about like Instagram now doing a partnership where I guess they want to be where artists put their music first. I don't know how it's going to happen, but there's always some new update that's going on. So I guess we will just have to see in the very near future as to like what's going on with that. But apparently this is another strike at trying to stop the DSPs, but I don't know how it's going to make it any better, to be honest. At least there's a subscription with the DSPs, majority of them. Well, a decent amount of them, but with Instagram, there really is no subscription that you have to buy for the music or for to enter into to Instagram. Period, the app. So I don't know how they're going to set it up for the music. This will be interesting to see, but I guess we'll keep you guys updated. But make sure that you guys are always here with us every single Monday for a new episode of Bar Exam. And we also have very candid conversations over at the Ethos Media Network Patreon page. So make sure you guys are checking that as well. But we will see you guys on the next one. This is Bar Exam.